The elephant in the room out. 0-10 right now. Can they start getting a win here in the HGC before we move to the Crucible?
I think it's going to be rough.
Yeah.
They need to be, I feel they need to be more aggressive. At this point, when you're so far down, you already know that you're going to the Crucible. You want to get a win, so you want to make a showing. And when did we see them nearly pick a map against Dignitas? When they were aggressive. They played a very aggressive comp with Illidan. They were trying to snipe targets. They went in with everything they had, came out swinging, and I feel this is what they need to do. Because in every other aspect, I think they are just not on the same level as the other HGC teams right now. And it's also the way they won the qualifiers for HGC. So even if you crash and burn with it, show some aggression, show something for your fans, and just try and go for these snipe comps that they're used to, that helped you to get into the league and that nearly netted you a win against Dignitas.
I mean, let's look at their next couple of matches of who they'll actually be facing off against to see if there's anyone that we think they can actually score a victory against. The next few weeks, today they're playing against Expert. Next is playing Ducks, Trick Esport, and Team Liquid. It doesn't get any easier after today.
No, it definitely doesn't. Against playing Ducks and Tricked Esports, all of these teams are on the same level that Expert is. We can see that in the standings, and they are all fighting for a good position in the playoffs and try to reach number 4, of course, in the rankings. So there is a bit of a disconnect, as you already mentioned a bit earlier, between the teams on the 5th to the 2nd spot and number 6 and number 7 in the rankings. So this is where beGenius really just has to step it up a bit and say, okay, we need to just train this more, we need to be on point, we need to have our coordination down when it comes to heroic abilities and just get these kills and carry the fight from there, because this is what they are known, or what they were known for heading into the league. So fall back to that, and even if you fail with it, at least try to play to your own strength. Yeah,
I mean, I agree with you. Let's see if we're going to have any odd compositions from beGenius here. What battleground are we going to for game number 2? It is going to be Infernal Shrines. And you know, thinking about last week against Dignitas, you mentioned it, the Illidan composition, the Henchel and Blast combo on Lucio. That was the best that we've seen beGenius play in the last few weeks, and it seemed like they just went all in on an idea. And we need that more in draft from them. I think it's the only way for them to even score a couple victories.
I would say so too, since especially in the last game, I really liked that draft. I think there was it was a very clean draft where you could see, okay, they have great heroes here. They have a Gul'dan for a lot of poke, Greymane as a finisher that can go in, Johanna at that front line, they had the supports. And if you look at what Team Expert had, they had a very solid draft themselves, but it was nothing where it said, okay, they just outdrafted beGenius. Yep. So the French team is just lacking in that coordination and sometimes overextend. So build momentum up and try to play that aggression. And as I said before, even if you end up failing with it, it's at least you making a big showing for your fans.
Yeah, I feel like the passive style just does not work for them. Like the Gul'dan sitting back and it's sieging away constantly with the Qs. I mean, it's safe, but I feel like they just have a slow death when that happens. And I'm tired of seeing them like fall over to opposing teams because they're getting outclassed, right? So bring in the weird stuff, man. Let's get figured out here. Game number 2, the draft is starting here. Infernal Shrines Life. Here we go. The first ban of the game here will be going over to the left side.
Talking about the bans at this point, I also want to quickly say that one of the things that was pretty cool in the last game was that we didn't even see Tassadar. So Tassadar was not banned, he wasn't taken, and that was an interesting thing to observe, considering that usually it's one of the heroes that is being taken out early on.
I think it's one of those things that comes down to these two teams too. Expert doesn't really run Tassadar ever. They can pick it up occasionally, but for the most part, they just have not touched him. And then you look at beGenius, and they seem to enjoy this Tychus, Li Ming, Gul'dan type of style, and Tassadar just doesn't work with those heroes.
So beGenius is having their second pick here, so we have them with the map choice, and that simply means that right now they feel very confident on this one in particular. I'm curious if they have some special strategies set up. Expert is taking their sweet time for the first ban, and it looks like they are going to ban out Sonya, which has of course a great shrine presence, unless there's going to be a change in that pick. But this is something, Sonya in particular has been played quite a bit, and the one thing that is interesting about Sonya is that right now a lot of the teams that we have seen him play in HGC were looking at Leap as an option, especially after Gul'dan Horrify, to get that guaranteed kill.
Yeah, it's been a really big fix-up, and we've been seeing it often. So beGenius now needs to start thinking about what they want to get rid of here. The last time we saw Expert on this battleground, they went for Gul'dan early to pick it up. So beGenius will ban out the Greymane, which now puts them in a spot where they get their Gul'dan they want, or they have the chance to go back to Danatan's old favorite and love, Arthas.
Yeah, and when we're talking about Gul'dan, this is one of the heroes that is the most threatening at this point.
Yeah.
With a Horrify, we saw Mena just destroy entire team fights with a single good Horrify. This is how impactful that hero can be. Malfurion as a first pick though for Team Expert, so already leaning a bit towards the idea of locking a target down with the roots. He's great for zoning around the shrine whenever we are having a team fight approach.
Sure.
So also with this Innervate, he can always make sure that you have a lot of sustain during these battles. But Expert with a very high priority on him. And of course, last but not least, the Twilight Dream that just adds so much to a team fight.
The only concern I see with the Malfurion being picked up is just beGenius go straight into Gul'dan Arthas here, and you have an incredible setup around the shrine face.
Yeah, I would agree. If you go for something along the lines of Gul'dan Arthas, you have a really good set. There's a lot of options that they have at this point, so it really comes down to what they feel the most confident in. But Gul'dan is always a great pick, and it's very scary when he happens to be on the opponent's side.
Yeah.
He's annoying as is already with that constant poke in his wave clear, but it's really just this horrifying. We cannot stress this enough. If you've been watching the last few days, you know exactly what we're talking about. Mene yesterday on Dignitas, I've been saying it before, he destroyed entire teamfights with one single heroic, which was fantastic. And there's the Gul'dan. Immediately being picked, not with the Arthas, but getting the combo with Oriel to make sure that they have this constant hope on Oriel for additional heals.
So support's being prioritized here. I feel like we're in the first couple weeks of the HGC where we saw the Malfurion constantly and then another support to follow up, and it's getting back to that, it looks like, here in this series here. So, Gul'dan Oriel, as you mentioned, has the great combo synergy. You constantly have that hope being poked out. Gul'dan's always poking, and you have the fear of diving into Gul'dan for Horrify, and now also Ages. It's really hard to get rid of that Gul'dan. Now, Expert, their follow-up here, let's see what they're going to be moving into. We could still see Ragnaros again. This is one of the battlegrounds that you can pull him off from there for the same reasons that we saw him on Dragonshire, slowing down, but also a little bit more stronger because you're able to poke down those minions and clear them out quick.
Yeah, there's a lot that Expert can do now. We are also talking about globals. Again, the Haka is something that we see a lot on this map, but the Ragnaros has been played several times by Expert here too.
Yeah.
You've been already mentioning it. Arthas could be the hero at that front line if they wanted, but they rely heavily on that Anubarak. They really love to play Anub, especially into Gul'dan. They really enjoy that a bit. And with Tychus now also in the mix, they're having, again, overkill pressure against the tank with the bigger they are. But this time, not with the Lucio comp that we've seen the last few times, which just allows Tychus to get so much value out of the bigger they are, because he's basically guaranteed to stay close enough to the target to get the entire the bigger they are duration through.
Yeah, the Lucio giving that moon speed for him to move in. Tychus gives the Gul'dan effect when he uses Odin too. Just being able to go into Odin and poke down the Shrine face is helpful, especially if you're in a tied series. If you're at 2020, you pop the Odin, and at that point you have more control over it. And it's really hard to engage into an Odin. Now, Anubarak, this is something that's being played by the top 3 teams, even to the point where he's being picked up in the first couple of rotations because he's so great for diving in on a hero. He just works a lot here with the Gul'dan.
The thing about Anubarak is that he oftentimes is played as the second tank, but you can also run him as the solo with a good setup. And Ragnaros banned out by beGenius. They, of course, know what has been played by their opponent in the past, so they're already saying you're not going to slow this one down. And it's, of course, quite annoying to deal with Ragnaros when he pops the Molten Core during any kind of engagement over the Shrine. And that would already give 2 tools to Expert to make it happen, since we have Tychus, as you said, with the Odin, being really good to just zone an opponent out and say, back off, this is our shrine, we're going to take it now. Then the Molten Core on top of that to either defeat a Punisher that was taken by your opponent or to just secure enough of those minion stacks to get the Punisher yourselves. So this is something that beGenius doesn't want to deal with. And it seems like Expert, on the other hand, is currently a bit afraid of being locked down by a Varian and by this aggressive composition that we've been wanting for beGenius.
Yeah, the aggressive composition would be great for beGenius, so Varian being get rid of is good, but is it worth that over the Arthas pick? Which I wonder about. Granted, beGenius has only ran Arthas once in the last couple weeks, so maybe they've done the research and realized beGenius hasn't been moving into Arthas as much. They did it on the Sky Temple map when they did run Illidan, and that's been about it. So perhaps Expert more fearful of Varian being picked up, and maybe beGenius has been favoring that more.
Yeah, Expert at this point, batting out the Varian, I don't really think it's a big problem. It's just Taunt is so impactful right now that it's played by so many teams, and to great value. If you get a Taunt in and have follow-up damage, it's absolutely brutal what you can do with that. And Varian, especially as the game progresses later on, if he picks up the 20 cooldown reduction for Taunt, he can taunt 2-3 times in a good team fight.
It's true.
And that makes him just such a scary tool to use, especially if you're using him not as a solo tank, but if you put someone else next to him. So very difficult to deal with. And right now, beGenius actually heading into a Thrall and a Johanna here. Thrall for the bot lane, solo laner first of all, and then later on can join the team fights with either Earthquake or Sundering. We've actually seen a bit of a priority on Sundering again.
Yeah. I think Thrall makes sense here for beGenius. I like Thrall more because of just who beGenius is. I feel like if they do get a lockdown, if they get that root on anyone possible, they'll go in for the hard engage. This is what this team does excel at, moving in and trying to kill somebody. If they don't get the kill, that's where they start to falter. But hey, don't worry about that part. Worry about starting the fight here. Having the Sundering and the root gives them those options, and then you have Condemn follow-up as well. Just a great way for them to play their style.
If you get a good flank with Sundering and Thrall moves in, gets a good Sundering in and just repositions the opponents, lines them up for Gul'dan to hit his corruption, then you have so much damage that you pressure out within the first few seconds of the fight starting, and then you can really just drive the momentum home. So this is something that they are hoping for, I would assume. And Thrall moving in, he wants to flank. If you go for Sundering, you want to flank or you want to snipe one particular target of your opponent's team. We oftentimes have seen him in the past picked when a Morales all of a sudden appeared. Doesn't happen all too often, but if it's the case, then Sundering is a great tool to get to that Morales. But any kind of flank setup is what we usually expect if Thrall goes Sundering. If Earthquake is being used, then of course it's a bit of a different dynamic they are trying to run here. But Expert is already reacting to this with, first of all, a Leoric, which will probably inhabit the bot lane at the beginning of the match, and Medivh together with the Malfurion. So there's a lot of protection, a lot of engage tools, also the Entomb that is now being available to them.
Yeah, Leoric is just one of those strong laners now. There's not many that can contest against him if he's hitting his spooky hand there, especially against the Thrall. He can actually bully him out, which is so weird to think that Thrall can be bullied out by Leoric right now. The latest buffs to him have just been so substantial. And now you also have incredible fear for Ariel. With the ability for an Entomb to come in, hit Gul'dan and Ariel, you can get the lockdown. I do worry if there's enough damage for Expert overall. Granted, there's Tychus here for the overkill. You also have the Odin, but it is Expert, and they have an insane Medivh player, ADRD.
Yeah, they indeed do. And beGenius, they need to think about damage now as well, and they actually go into the double support instead. So, no more damage for them. They are confident enough that Gul'dan is going to drive this one home. The Oriel Lucio comp is something we usually see more with a sustained damage dealer. A Vala comes to mind here. We've seen it also with Shul'jins. Usually the auto attackers that you're looking towards when you are running a double support. So the Gul'dan and Oriel comp is quite strong. Putting Lucio into the mix now is going to help them to just sustain themselves through a lot of these fights. I think that's also helping with the scenario that you explained a bit earlier. If there's a good Entomb against Oriel. Thrall could help with that as well, just holding the Sundering back until the Entomb is down and using it afterwards. But yeah, this is an interesting approach by beGenius because it's very different from what we expected them to do. I was expecting them to go into a more aggressive composition and trying to just carry that momentum. But they are saying, okay, we need sustain. We're going to use that. And with the double support, we are just able to out-sustain our opponents in fights over the objective.
Yeah, they're really wanting to destroy the objective here with their Gul'dan, Ariel sweeping in, and Thrall to maybe sit in the front line and own those chokes with those roots, and then eventually at level 10, the Sundering. beGenius played a similar composition with double support the last time they played on Shrines, and they got completely destroyed. They ran a bit of a different front line back then, though. They ran an Anubarak with Cocoon, and that didn't work out for them at all. Right now, you have a Johanna at the front, which is a lot more sustainable than a Cocoon Anubarak. So you have a lot of tools that can keep you alive. So I feel this is a bit better for them. It's not exactly the same composition, but that double support is something that they seem to be very confident in when they're playing on Infernal Shrines. And let's see if this one works out better than the last time. Yeah, we'll have to see if it works out here as we go into game number 2 on Infernal Shrines. For beGenius, I'm keeping an eye on the Thrall and the Gul'dan. They are going to have light-out game here to actually do well against Team Experts.
Infernal Shrines is our second map as Expert. Already picked up a victory on our first map, Dragonshire. They are in the lead in this best-of-5 series. And to the left in blue, we have Bad Benny on Anubarak, Kirsten on Malfurion, Nick on Tychus, Blade on Leoric, and ADRD on Medivh.
To the right, in the red, beGenius Unstable will be playing the Ariel. We're going to have Danatan on Johanna. Watch for him to charge forward for his team. Eric Heen will be on the Lucio. Kirvois on Gul'dan. And last but not least, Tank for the win, playing Thrall.
Already on level 1, picked up Hopelessness. Great tool for Leoric here. Just increasing the range of the Drain Hope. And this is, of course, his main tool to dish out damage. He's most likely going to take over the top lane. I think I referred in during the draft to the bot lane as the solo lane for quite some time. I, of course, was talking about top, where Thrall already positioned himself. Rotations on this map are usually happening between mid and bottom, so Leoric should soon make his way over to the top lane to face off against the War Chief.
Team Expert needs to be careful here. They put 4 in the middle, and Unstable's getting focused down, while Thrall just sits in the top lane to soak that experience. So they will finally clear out, and Ariel's able to tap everyone off, especially with Lucio being in here. So the Lucio-Ariel composition, just to point it out, is probably one of the best healer duos you can possibly have. The burst healing from Unstable here on Ariel is going to be great as long as Gul'dan's putting out damage, and Lucio just ties everything off. They are a nice band-aid to each other and their different styles.
Lucio is actually checking where exactly Tychus and Nubarak are. I like that we're having Thrall playing safe, because this is one of the things that happens quite a bit when we're talking about beGenius, that in the early game they're too far out on the lane and they all of a sudden get caught by a rotation. This is not the case with the top lane this time, so we had Expert, I don't want to call it wasting some time, but they definitely invested a few resources here to set up a potential kill, which didn't happen. So in the meantime, we saw beGenius just trying to go for the wave clear. Right now, Johanna walking straight into these heroes, but as we said before, with the Iron Skin, with the trade, she is able to walk back.
She does move back, and beGenius continues the trend of clearing the waves, while Leoric is starting to get a nice advantage in the top lane against the Thrall. Team Expert should be able to focus on getting level 4 as well as beGenius, and then we should have our fight in the top as beGenius, again, will grab that bottom lane, get it pushed in. It's interesting to watch Medivh be here, the solo laner. It's actually not too bad for him to hold off an off lane. You can drop one of your Qs in there, and while it becomes a long cooldown, you can hold your own.
He has also one decisive advantage. He can easily fly to the top without being intercepted.
Yeah,
we
true.
actually saw a lot of teams trying to intercept rotations from the bot lane once the Shrine spawns top and try to get a kill at exactly that moment in time. Medivh doesn't face that issue. But as you can see on the minimap now, we have something happening that is a bit more common these days. Expert is about to give up the first Punisher and simply says, we will push the lanes, you can try and react to it, but if you don't, we will still come out ahead of that trade even if you get the first objective.
Yeah, this has been happening on the first objective more often. This is something that you can decide at home if you just look at your opponent's composition.
Nice.
Oh my gosh, Root goes out, and we're going to have a dead Lucio. Danatan taking damage as well, but the main story here is the turrets have no ammo. So those waves that could push in later could get structures. Really
well done. That was a great move that we saw on the side of Expert, and they are now moving up to the top again, trying to get a second kill here. Double stun immediately, and Tank is down. Goodbye, War Chief. Green Jesus is dead, and that is, yeah, a little bit disappointing for beGenius, of course, down 0-2 in kills, and now we have an opportunity for Expert to also grab the Punisher if they make a play for it.
Yeah, you're right. The threat for those 2 kills going down is that we lose out on experience in the middle lane, we lose 2 kills, and we might also lose the Punisher. beGenius hurting right now, and they're hoping to make a fight as they move in. Gul'dan on the back left, poking, looking for Nick, but Nick's positioning has been on point.
Thrall is on the way back. Only 7 more minions for beGenius. They might still be able to make it, but all of a sudden, we have also Leoric starting to go in once again. Blade wants to go for another Drain Hope. We have such a close fight over that Punisher, but it looks like we're going to see, yes, beGenius pick it up, and Leoric falling. Blade sacrificing himself here in an attempt to get the last few minion stacks. Didn't work out for him, so now they have to face the music here as the Arcane Punisher is jumping the wall.
Nice counter-strike there from beGenius. Securing that Punisher was important for them to do so, or Expert may have been on a spot where they start to run away from this game. So beGenius in a great spot now. They'll head to the middle lane and the bottom lane and make up for that experience they missed out on, especially after taking on Leoric with that kill. And they're going to be happy campers here as we are tied at 7-7 with the experience being grabbed in a couple of seconds for beGenius.
beGenius is now going for camps, and they have still a really decent experience position here. 7 versus 7, as you just said. We also see with the level 7 talents being picked up by both these games, an opportunity for them to maybe even start a fight. Johanna in the middle of the map is in a bit of trouble, has to pop the Iron Skin here and is on the way back. And up to the top, Leoric is still fighting it out with Thrall. And actually, Leoric, with the talents that we see here, Fealty unto Death, another talent gives him a lot of sustain on the lane, so minion stacks or minion kills are going to heal him here. Ghastly Reach also used, no Paralyzing Rage on level 7. Oftentimes we see the extra slow with a swing. That doesn't happen this time, just trying to get the extra wave play in. And the rest of the team is moving in with a good root against Oriel.
Every time Bad Benny goes in, a root comes in from Curse, and Unstable was focused down, but he does survive with the double supports here. Johanna turns around, and Tank for the wins, hoping to turn the fight.
And all of a sudden, Listen, Blade is low, and Thrall tries to move in, tries to net that kill, doesn't get it though. And immediately an attempt to turn it around by Blade with a good drain home, setting that up, but Thrall moving out of it, and both of the teams disengaging without a single death on either side. But all of a sudden, Johanna moves away. Well done, still at the cooldown up on the Iron Skin, and everybody is rotating back onto the lanes for the experience.
This is where the composition works for beGenius. If they don't lose immediately to the dive-in, they are able to turn around, and they've done it a couple of times. They have just yet to net a kill based on that turnaround, so hopefully going forward, they'll be able to do so. That's why we were kind of wondering when we got to this draft coming through, did they have enough damage? I think later on when they have 10 and they have that Sundering and that Horrify, they'll finally be able to get those kills, but so far you can see the concept with their composition.
Both of the teams now also with a camp taken, and that's important since the next shrine is active on the map, and that's in the mid lane. So we're going to have the top lane push. The problem is really the early level 10 for Team Expert. They are very likely to hit level 10 during that shrine phase, so beGenius isn't even fighting for it. They're saying, guys, we don't stand a chance there either way. We have still Medivh at that bot lane trying to get the experience for Team Expert to make that play. So let's just move on to the lanes and take it from there. But Expert is looking for potential kills since they, of course, realize how far ahead they are with that level 10 ability and try to get an advantage out of it.
Yeah, I like that point there. The reason why they went for that engage, Bad Bunny wasn't looking for a kill. He was trying to get more people on the top lane to defend against that Anubis potentially diving in so they can get even bigger of a lead here. 31-0 on the Shrine phase. Team Expert will walk away with this one for free, effectively. While beGenius was forced to get to level 10, they just now nail it, so Goldan should start rotating towards that middle lane.
Yeah, now we have the 10s on both sides with the Sundering being picked up. Johanna holding back her ult for a moment. Would shock me to say anything else than the Blessed Shield being picked up here. But Falling Sword is fun to watch, but of course the more stable heroic, definitely the Blessed Shield.
It's even more fun to watch at level 20 when you get lightning to come down. Oh, it's so sick. Team Expert though goes forward here with the aggression. All 5 members are here. Bad Bunny with the sick flank Aroni. Can he land on Arakeen or Goldan? That is his target. And so far, beGenius is playing safe enough as they get poked here on the right.
Leoric finds himself at that bot lane, putting that ghastly reach on the level 7 to some good use, and just simply annihilating wave after wave to net a bit more experience for his teammates. And in the meantime, the middle is under assault. The Punisher finally down, and this is the moment that beGenius chooses to look for an engage, but Tank still not setting up that Sundering, waiting for an opportunity. Blade is going to spot him though.
The Nubrak continually getting these Force of Wills. Although he's not the best solo tank, we do have a Leoric here, but he's actually being a bit of a solo tank in these fights just because he's able to be in the front and the Force of Wills are coming out and the portals are popping out. Leoric's being used more of a split pusher. Now when they do get into fights, they're going to have their 2 off tanks, Leoric and a Nubrak. They can go in for the hard engages, but something to point out there, if you have a Medivh on your team, your Nubrak gets that much more stronger.
I hate playing versus Medivh. It feels like every time I have a Medivh on my team, it's complete clown fiesta, and when there's an opponent's Medivh and he just spams the portal out, even if you don't use them, just the existence of the portal when you're taking a camp is such a huge threat where you're always feeling, well, what if? What if all of a sudden there's like 3 heroes appearing? So it's always good if you have a few heroes like a Goldan that can just simply put their spells onto the portal to make it a little bit harder for the opponent to engage through it. But I feel the real threat comes into play once that Entomb and also the Leyline Seal are being used on the side of Expert.
Well, it might come in now here. Nubrak getting focused down on ADRD's not close for a Force of Will, and suddenly Bad Bunny is killed off. beGenius getting the pick they were looking for, tying it up in kills. They are looking for more. Sundering coming out. Blade being chased.
Yeah, Blade is finally falling. That was a bit of a misplay here by Tank for the win. He actually did not really use that Sundering properly. He wanted to use it on the left side of the log to push him in, and he kind of misstepped a little bit. It doesn't matter though, since they are still able to get that kill, and that was an important one. But that Anubis kill that started all of this was once again helped by Unstable with a great Detainment Strike. The same thing that happened on the last map. So these Detainment Strikes that we are seeing from Unstable are really on point.
They really are on point. And suddenly what we saw in also the last map too is one member dying can be a cascade of domino effect if you really moving forward and taking advantage here. Those 2 kills net beGenius a nice amount of experience to get 13 right before the Shrine activates, and they get that fort down to low health. So if they can win this Shrine phase, they can push forward and maybe start looking towards keep damage.
Exactly. So right now we have Johanna making her way over to the top. We have 13 talents on both sides. Johanna now with the Burning Rage, and also the Giant Killer on the side of Thrall. They are starting to move in here. They want the kill, attempting to lock down Anubis. It hasn't happened just now, and we see already Leoric trying to get some additional minion stacks for his own team, but with this point, we have beGenius attempting to secure the position on the shrine itself.
Expert answers back by pushing in the middle lane here. Getting the experience pushed in, so someone may have to go back there to actually grab it for beGenius. beGenius at the moment, though, electing to just clear out the shrine phase. A new Breck and Tychus on their way for the rotation. Watch for Blade here, could have an entomb.
beGenius with a stun against Gul'dan. Needs to be careful here. Is he going to dive in? Nick already with the overkill. Moving in for the damage. 13 versus 14. Entomb is out, but that doesn't really do anything for them. We have finally Odin in play, but it's a bit too late to capitalize on that. Here comes the Horrify. They're going again for the Buck, trying to drop the Beetle, but already Blessed Shield is out. A lot of cooldowns used. Sundering is also in play as Aegis on Oriel gets dropped.
And Nick on the side just keeps poking away. The double support's really working out for beGenius. Tank for the win, and Crew, though, get hit by a massive silence. They need to be quiet while they fall victim here and try to retreat, but they survive.
They still have their well up, though. They go back and they tap, but they have to hurry. There's only 5 minute stacks missing for Team Expert. It's a chance for beGenius to make that move, but they don't. They let it slide and they just give the Punisher over to Team Expert. A very big sustained fight on the side of beGenius, but even with the well, they are not in time to move back in and try to claim the Punisher and take maybe one of Team Expert's members down.
Unfortunately, beGenius not having enough damage to secure kills in those fights. Also, the Horrify only hitting one member, and it being Nick, and him actually being able to retreat to his team made Horrify be obsolete in that fight, and Expert is going to walk away with this fort. They are charging forward. They are close to 16. If they get one pick off, beGenius could be in trouble, so they will set up defensively.
But one of the things that Expert keeps doing is they always isolate, or they always push Leoric back to one of the off lanes for the experience. Every single time they win a Punisher, the first thing they do is they split Leoric off, they send him to the other lane, say like, dude, you're going to get the experience for us, just clear the waves out, we're going to push with the Punisher as 4, and as long as that Punisher survives, we are in a decent position to still put pressure on the opponent, and once it's about to die, we can always move out with ADR providing a good portal. So we're never in a position where we are afraid of beGenius engaging upon us and forcing us into a battle we don't want to fight.
And that play has netted them 1.5 levels of experience lead over their opponent, so it's one that's definitely working out. As long as the 4-man squad doesn't get picked off, it'll be one that you always gain an advantage in. And you're right, the portals are incredibly helpful, and Nubrak having his own disengage, and Malfurion just naturally playing safe makes it hard for beGenius to go for the engage. I mean, look at them. They don't have die. This is why the Varian ban comes into play. It allows for Team Expert to play this style.
Yeah, and right now things are looking pretty decent for Expert, of course. Once again, they have taken down every single fort on the map. beGenius is under pressure, a level behind. They don't have the 16 talent. This is fantastic for Expert. They're playing a great game with this. And once more, beGenius just moving out here. ADRD also has his back, is currently just using the bird here to get a bit of vision. Bird's Eye View also activated. Top lane, that's where we have Leoric going up against Thrall. And with that vision that was just now granted by Medivh, you also knows that there was a potential rotation happening. But beGenius starts to make the move down to the bot lane instead, since we see already pressure towards the front of the keep.
And on beGenius' side, they are just hoping to get 16 here. They're not going to do anything to overextend. They don't want to get picked off. If they do, it'd be a major mistake. They want to get 16 and then hope to get an engage. But Team Expert, the moment they see 16 get close, they all mount up and deuce.
Look at the build that Leoric uses here. On level 16, he goes into the double swing, the renewed swing. So right now, we're having him with Ghastly Reach on 7 and the swing on the 16. So this is a build that you normally don't see. Leorics usually want to just go in, put pressure on the front line ideally, and it's more or less a focus on Drain Hope that we see in most cases. That build that we have now just strengthens what we've talked about, what Leoric is doing. He's always splitting the entire game. He joins for the team fights for the objective, but afterwards he goes onto the lanes, pushes the rest of the lane out, gets the experience. This is going to make this process even faster for them, and also helps them to secure the minion stack. So this is actually a really nice approach and a bit of a twist that we see.
Yeah, this build is just good for this playstyle. This would be something we'd recommend every single game, but for Infernal Shrines, this just works completely well. beGenius, though, getting 16, and they're making this work. They're pushing in. They're clearing out the shrine. They do it effectively and fast with their Johanna and Gul'dan because Leoric's not here. He's in the top lane.
That also means, though, that beGenius has to now rotate someone back.
Yep.
So all of a sudden, beGenius is in the situation where they are, boys, we got the Punisher, awesome. But at the same time, first of all, that Punisher is only walking towards a fort. We haven't really taken any structures yet. And second of all, someone has to go back because, you know what? That annoying ghost up to the top, that Skeleton King, that is still trying to drop our keep. And he is putting the pressure on. So Tank walks in and Blade says, well, sayonara, bro, I'm out of here.
Leoric, the annoying ghost. That is the official title here for this matchup. As now with this being cleared up, there has yet to be one fort to fall for Expert. That's how far of a commanding lead they have and how much control they've been utilizing throughout this entire series. Now it's all about beGenius going in for movement. They are just fishing for something. They want to get a pick. They know how important it is for them to grab some kills now and also start to get the momentum on the battleground. 20 is right around the corner. Bad Biddy comes in. Aegis is used.
Aegis is used early. Kierva finds himself in a lot of trouble here. Good detainment strike once again. Sundering coming through.
Oh
the
my,
3-man Entomb, but Leoric is down. Twilight Dream utilized as Gul'dan falls.
And we're going to have Odin just poking here on the left, looking at Tank for the win. If they kill Thrall here, there is no damage for beGenius. They're wanting to run. They are praying that they can run, but they cannot. They are being chased down. ADRD sharking for Lucio. Lucio dipping around. Aria hoping to get out, but she is being focused here by Nick and Bad Benny. That will be a pickoff, and this should be a keep and potentially one of these lanes.
Great grenades. A great grenade by Tychus here also to just hold him back here. That was a bit of that was a real issue when we had Gul'dan walking to the wrong direction. They pick off Lucio. They could potentially end the game here. At this point, it looks rough. Gul'dan is going to be back. Heap is definitely going to fall, but the level 20 talent that they have might enable them to go for their core as is. So right now, the Keep about to fall, but Gul'dan really splitting from the rest of the team and going into that choke point, that allowed them to put so much pressure on him, and everybody was trying to save him. You see, first of all, Auriel with an Aegis attempt, buying him a little bit more time. But then after that happens, we see the Sundering coming out, of Thrall using that too. But this was just a complete disaster. That team fight in that choke point should not have happened.
Choke point, unfortunate. Gul'dan getting picked off. Got to call out Blade too with that insane Entomb. It hit 4 members, which allowed Odin to pop out and bring out the area affected damage. And now, 20-18, the Shrine activating in 10 seconds. Expert is just in the driver's seat. Their only chore here is to make sure not to die.
And let's take a quick look at that replay at that fight again as the Shrine is about to activate. And this is exactly the battle. Look at the Aegis coming out at this point. Everybody trying to save Gul'dan, who walks to the top into the Leoric. He can't go down. Down comes the Sundering. Then the 3-man Entomb. That buys the time for the Malfurion with his ult. Everybody jumping in, and in the back, Tychus is just a happy panda. He can just barrel away with the damage against the opponent. Great play here from them. So yeah, that was a massive win for Team Expert.
Well, back to the game. The Shrine here on the bottom left has been activated. Our teams are fighting, and Team Expert actually just charged in with Odin, and they killed 3 and a 4th member. Johanna being the last one here as she is stuck in the ley line seal. This is going to be an eventual kill, and beGenius is just going to get obliterated.
I can't believe that beGenius even went into that fight. They lost everyone right now. They're fighting against a level 20 opponent. And I'm sorry to say, against Big Red Button, Spectral Leech, against the Rewind on a Nubarak, a Bolt of the Storm, Twilight Dream Malfurion, that is just suicide. I understand Hail Mary attempts where you're saying we need to take a fight now, but I'm not so sure if that fight was really needed. You still have an opportunity to defend, sacrifice the keep in the process, and try to defend here, but that was them just... that was a suicide move, nothing else.
Well, beGenius will be getting ready for game number 3 as Expert takes game 2 here with decisive play. They shut down their opponents with great map control.
Expert, they do it, and already behind, of course, before that last fight happens. We even thought that with our replay here we had a bit more time before they were jumping in, but I really have to question the decision-making going into that battle. We talk about a lot how difficult it can be fighting against an opponent as a talent ahead. That's even more relevant when you're going up against a level 20, but even then, you have certain compositions where you think, okay, they have 20, but if we can get an early kill, maybe we can make it happen. 2 problems with that. First of all, beGenius doesn't have a composition that helps them to get an early kill. They can't go in and try and snipe someone. They don't have the tools. And second of all, that power spike on 20 that we see for Team Expert is insane.
It's devastating, yeah.
Spectral Leech alone together with a Big Red Button on their own. I mean, come on. You're not going to win that fight. That is not happening, especially if AD already sits there. What are you hoping for? What are your realistic chances to win that fight? The best thing that can happen to you is that all of a sudden Expert says, boys, I think we might lose that fight. At that point, ADR is like, okay, I gotcha. Here's a portal. Let's leave and move in a moment again, because guess what? We still have the well in the mid lane.
I mean, to be fair, there is always a surprise factor. So us knowing that information and them knowing that information, maybe if you show up randomly, you can get a pick off. But agreed, the chance is incredibly low to get those kills. It's probably better there to use your wave clear, sit back home, and bait around the Punisher. It's too difficult.
The factor for Expert at this point is like, oh my god, it's Christmas. Thank you.
All right, guys, we'll be right back with game number 3. Expert is currently up 2-0.